Hello, we're back. So we have, this time we're going to do simple interest, and then we're going to do percent of change. So this is going to be a combined video because I only have 5 slides. So, okay? So interest equals principal times rate times time. And the principal is what you borrow. So you buy a car, you buy a house, you need to borrow money for school, whatever it may be. And then the rate is the interest rate that they give you for that. And then the time, are you borrowing over 2 years, you're borrowing it over 10 months, are you borrowing it over 30 years? You know, you can get a mortgage for 30 years or 15 years fixed. So we're going to talk all about those kind of situations. And right now this is an example that I had given in class. So we're going to see what this has to say for us. Asher borrows $2,500 for 3 years at 6%. How much interest will he pay on the loan? So it tells me I have to take the principal times the rate times the time. Principal times the rate times the time. The only thing you're going to, well, 2 things actually, but the first thing you're going to change is the percent to a decimal. And we talked about how to do that in the previous video that had percent information in it. And so you just move that 2 to the left, and then it gives you 0.06. So then you multiply all these on your calculator. Now I'm not taking them through the steps on it, but you take 2,500 times 0.06 times 3, and that interest rate is going to be $450. However, there might be a question that asks you what's the total amount that they owe, and you would say 450 plus the 2,500. And so I put these on the sidebar over here to let you know that there might be another question on the test that may ask you the total amount. And then you would add 2,500 plus 450 and you get 2,950. And then they may ask you, well, what would be the monthly rate? What would be the monthly rate for that? And you would say, you would take 36. Why 36? Because he's borrowing it for how long? 3 years. Monthly would be 3 times 12, which would give you 36. And that is where we get the 36 from. And you divide that into 2,950, and you would get 81.94. You round it to the nearest cent. If you put this in your calculator, it's going to say 81.9444444444. And the 4 is a repeating decimal. And if you round to the nearest cent, then you keep it at 94. Okay? All right. What's next? Okay, so I made up a figment. I took some and I pushed them all together, and it was a crazy amount, but you'll see what I mean. If you borrow, or someone borrows $10,000 at a rate of 8% for 10 months, this is with months. This is the second thing that I said. There's 2 things. The second one would be if it's months, you have to put it over 12 because there's 12 months in a year. And you would do 10 over 12. Now you could reduce it or you could keep it like that. So what I did it in little steps, is I took 10,000 and I converted my percent to a decimal and I multiplied that and I got 800. And then I brought down my 10 over 12. But I like to cross reduce. Back in fraction world, you can cross reduce these. You reduce them before you multiply them. And so 4 goes into each of these. It's just one number that goes into both, right? So 4 goes into 12 3 times, and 4 goes to 800 200 times. 200 times 10 is 2,000. And 1 times 3 is 3. And then when you divide 2,000 divided by 3, the interest is going to be $666.67. I didn't do that on purpose. I realized the number that it ended up being, but this is what it is. So that would be the interest if you were to borrow this information, given this information. Next. Okay, so this is a little confusing. I'm going to cover this part up real quick, but I wanted you to see the difference in interest rates because this one said that someone borrowed $120,000 at 9% at the rate at the 30 years of a time, right? So you're buying a house for $120,000, but the rate's 9%. Don't buy a house at 9%. That's terrible. You're going to find out why. If you found out what the interest rate was by converting your decimal, your percent to a decimal, it would be $324,000. Don't do that. Don't do that. and then you add that to the 120, your total would be $444,000 at the end of 30 years. You'd paid almost over $400,000 for a house probably. And then you would find out your monthly total. You would do 30 times 12, you get 360, and you divide that into 444,000. Your total is going to be 1233.33. And you said, well, that's not too bad because rent now is like $1,250 to $1,500 according to what you're getting. However, we looked up the U.S. rate that it is now, and that's why I was covering this up. This is the 30-year fixed. This is the 15-year fixed. I Googled this 2 days ago. Okay, and so you would have your interest, and I did the one for 30 years, and we worked it out in class, and we did 120, and remember, you still have to convert this to a decimal, okay, even though it looks like 2.985, you still have to move that 2 to the left, and you times that with 30, and you're going to get 107,460. But let me tell you, that sounds way better than 324,000, right? And then we add those two together, and we get 227,460. Divide by the 360 because it's 30 years, and it's $631.83. That would be your mortgage for a $120,000 house today, 2020, right? And then the taxes, what we talked about is that didn't include your taxes. And if your taxes were $4,800 a year, then your taxes would be $400, and you would actually be paying $1,031. But I'd rather pay that than this. So you decide how you want to buy the house. But real life situations are right in this area here, and you can figure them out by the information that you're given. So that leads us to the percent of change. And a percent of change compares a new number, which shows an increase or decrease, to the original number. So if you go to Walmart or Target and they say, hey, you're saving money, was this, now this, you could find out the percent of decrease. Or they said, was this, we had to raise the price to this, and then you find out the percent of increase. And you notice now at the end of 2020, a lot more things are a lot more expensive now because of the pandemic. And I know that's kind of a harsh word to use right now, but this is the situation we're in today in December of 2020. And so you could figure out money and budget-wise by, some of this information given. So I gave out the word problem that Lisa earned $10.50 per hour, and now she earns $11.34. So she got a raise, so that's a good thing, right? And what percent raise did her boss give her? And you have to find the difference of the amounts and then divide it by the original. This is the percent of change formula. Find the difference of the amounts and divide by the original amount. And so I'm taking $11.34 and I'm minusing $10.50. And then I'm dividing it by $10.50. And so now I have 84 cents divided by 10.50, and I get, now remember, it's going to give you a decimal, and they want the percent, so you have to change it to the percent. Okay? And it's going to be an 8% raise. Awesome. Awesome, right? No one gets 8% raise anymore. We all get 2%, if that. All right. Next one, jacket is for sale for 90%. It was 120. What is the percent decrease? Now this is going through the decrease process of it, right? Again, percent of increase and decrease formula, difference of amount, divide by the original amount. 120 was the jacket, minus the 90 becomes 30. Keep the 120 underneath because that's the original amount. 30 divided by 120 gives you 25 hundredths. And you're going to change that to percent, and that's 25%. And this is how I did it on the calculator. I had a question this morning about this, and that's how it was done. And just don't forget to change it to percent. Then that's what they're going to give you as options on your test. They want it in percent form. They may have 25% as that. So, and then the last but not least, I gave some problems. This is from a worksheet. But you get the gist of it. If something was $3,000 and they made it $2,000, or it was increased by $1,000, how much was the increase? So this was an increase. And then this one is a decrease. It was $500, now it's $340. They got the difference of $160. They divided by 500. It was a decrease of 32%. And, you know, we're all about being in the decreasing part of it instead of the increasing part of it. So I think that concludes. I went kind of fast with that, so rewind it, check it out again. If you need the paperwork for it, email me. I'll make sure that I put it on the Google Classroom. So you take care. Have a good day. Peace.